Sultan Osman II, also known as the Invisible Sultan, became one of the most tragic figures in the history of the Ottoman Empire. His reign from 1618 to 1622 was short but filled with political intrigue, uprisings, and betrayals, as well as a struggle for reforms that ultimately led to his tragic death. The conspiracy against the Sultan was the culmination of years of tension within the empire and symbolized the clash between the old and new orders. The ascension of Sultan Osman II. Sultan Osman II ascended the throne in 1618 at the age of just 14, following the death of his father, Sultan Ahmed I. The young sultan was ambitious and sought reforms, particularly aiming to modernize the military and administration and strengthen his personal authority. However, his youth and inexperience, coupled with the unpopularity of his reforms among the court elites and military, posed serious challenges to his rule. Osman II attempted to reform the system and reduce the influence of the old military powers, especially the Janissaries, whose power had reached its peak by this time. The Janissaries, once a loyal and elite fighting force, had become a significant political power, complicating governance. Nevertheless, Sultan Osman was determined to reduce their influence and centralize the military under his control. The Sultan's reforms and their consequences. One of Sultan Osman II's most controversial actions was his attempt to reform the military, which caused the most discontent among the military ranks. Sultan Osman wanted to create a more modern army based on new methods of warfare, rather than relying on the traditional military structures of the past. He believed that the army should be more professional and not depend on the old institutions like the Janissaries. His attempts to consolidate power within the empire were met with widespread opposition among officials and aristocrats, as they feared losing their privileges and influence. Sultan Osman was unwilling to make compromises and openly dismissed high-ranking officials who had grown accustomed to the old system. His decisions alienated even some of his former allies. One of the most notable examples of his harshness was his handling of the Janissary rebellion in 1621. Faced with open defiance from the Janissaries, Sultan Osman II took drastic measures to suppress the uprising, ordering the execution of several high-ranking officers and publicly humiliating the corps. This act of retribution further divided the army and the court, making it clear that Osman II had irreparably damaged his relationship with the military elite. The genesis of the conspiracy. It was no surprise that such a style of governance set the stage for conspiracies against the Sultan. By 1621, conspirators began to gather in the shadows, including both disillusioned military officers and significant members of the aristocracy. The reasons for the conspiracies were multifaceted: dissatisfaction with the Sultan's reforms, his attempts to interfere with traditional power structures, and his inability to maintain a balance of power at the Ottoman court. According to rumors, among the conspirators were not only government officials, but also members of the Sultan's own family, which made the situation even more tense. The conspirators sought to restore the old order and eliminate the Sultan, whom they considered too ambitious and incapable of effectively ruling the vast empire. The conspiracy of 1622. The climax of the conspiracy came on the night of 1622. At this point, Sultan Osman II was residing in his palace when a group of conspirators, united by a common goal, stormed his quarters. Among the conspirators were not only military officers, but also high-ranking state officials, which made this betrayal particularly severe. The conspirators acted swiftly and decisively, as they had already prepared a plan to seize power. Sultan Osman II was caught off guard and unable to mobilize his forces in time. According to some accounts, when the Sultan was arrested, he attempted to flee down one of the palace corridors but was captured. Initially, he was forced to sign an abdication decree, but later, according to some sources, he said words that became famous. "I will die, but you will all destroy the empire." These words, whether true or legendary, became a grim prophecy of the future decline of the empire. The death of Sultan Osman II. After his arrest, Sultan Osman II was exiled to a palace prison. Though no longer a political figure, he remained a symbol of the power struggle between the old and new regimes. On the night of June 20th, 1622, he was found dead in his cell. Official reports claimed that he died from suffocation, but rumors quickly spread that he had been murdered by the conspirators, who feared that he might one day return to power. His death, whether by natural causes or assassination, marked the end of his brief and tragic reign. His death shocked the empire. The conspirators believed that they had restored political stability, but their plan backfired. Instead of returning to the old order, the empire was plunged into further turmoil. Sultan Ahmed II was succeeded by his younger brother, Murad IV, in 1623. Unlike Osman II, Murad IV was known for his harsh rule and efforts to restore discipline within the army, though his reign was also marked by conflict and strict policies. The legacy of Sultan Osman II. The death of Sultan Osman II left a lasting impact on Ottoman history. He became a symbol of the young ruler who sought to change the empire but was undone by those who refused to accept change. His brief reign, while marked by bold attempts at reform, also demonstrated the deep divisions within the empire, as well as the dangers faced by any ruler who sought to challenge entrenched power structures. Legends surrounding his death and his final defiant words contributed to his mystique. He was remembered either as a martyr for the cause of reform or as a young ruler who overestimated his ability to change an ancient empire. The conspiracy against Sultan Osman II remains a cautionary tale of how ambitious reforms can clash with deeply rooted traditions, and how political power, once lost, is difficult to regain. In the years that followed, the Janissaries, who had played a central role in the conspiracy, would continue to be a powerful force in Ottoman politics, although their influence eventually waned in the late 17th century. Sultan Osman II's legacy serves as a reminder of the complex dynamics of leadership, the peril of confronting entrenched political systems, and the tragic consequences of striving for reform in a time of deep conservatism.